Hello there, everybody, and welcome. My name is Tamir Moore, and welcome to the latest episode here on my YouTube channel. Also, I will invite you to follow me on social media as I often post there a lot. You can check out the links to my Twitter and Instagram profiles on this intro screen. And one last quick thing, you can check out my latest video by clicking the card in the upper right corner. And now it is time to start today's featured episode. And now here is Tamir Moore in the home studio with the live to tape filling of the NFC Championship Game edition of What You Need to Know. From Lumen Field in Seattle, Washington, Fox Sports presents the NFL. Today, it's the 2025 NFC Championship Game. Winner heads to the Super Bowl. Loser season comes to an end. NFC West Battle Part 3 as the Los Angeles Rams are in town to take on the Seattle Seahawks. And we welcome you inside the home studio. Thank you so much for joining us. I'm Tamir Moore. This is episode 18 of What You Need to Know. Sadly, this is the penultimate episode of our first season. Once we get past the Super Bowl episode in 2 weeks, that'll be it for our NFL series for this year. Thank you so much for joining us for this episode. It has been an honor and my privilege to do these shows for you all season long. But as the old saying goes, all good things must come to an end. And unfortunately, we're almost at the end of the line. But the good news is we still have 2 shows left. We have a big game to preview here today. The Los Angeles Rams and the Seattle Seahawks. We have a lot to talk about on this show. We are, of course, starting with the introduction. We're doing that now. We'll have the reference notes. We'll have the injury report, the game capsule, as we typically do here. And then we will close out the show. Before we begin, a couple of housekeeping items to take care of. Last week, we had episode 17 of What You Need to Know, the NFC divisional playoff between San Francisco and Seattle. If you missed that video and you would like to watch it right now, then please click the card in the upper right corner or in the description below. And we covered the Rams twice during the regular season. This is our third Rams game. We covered the Rams for the first time back in Week 10 against the San Francisco 49ers. If you would like to learn more information about that game, then please click the card in the upper right corner or in the description below. And I should mention, as I mentioned a couple videos ago, you can find the previous episodes that I have mentioned here today in the description of the show. So make sure you check that out once you're finished watching this. Then in Week 15, we covered the Lions game against the Los Angeles Rams. Again, click the card in the upper right corner or in the descriptions below if you missed that episode and you would like to watch it right now. Also, this is very quintessential stuff here, folks, in the housekeeping section. Make sure that you like, comment, subscribe, share, and hit the notification bell so you'll be notified of all of our newest content. We post every single week on YouTube with a brand new video like the one you're watching right now. So if you like football and would like to hear me talk about it, then this is definitely the place for you to be. Thank you so much for your continued support as we continue to get closer and closer to our goal of 100 subscribers here on YouTube. We're at 59 right now. We were at 50 at one point. We gained 9 new subscribers, so 41 more to go. So hopefully we can get to our 100 subscriber goal at the end of 2026. And I should mention before we go forward, this has been a very heavy and a very emotional week for me. So I'm trying to, get cheered up by seeing you guys out there in the YouTube fam. And I really appreciate you guys watching this episode. This is a temporary, much-needed distraction from some of the personal stuff that I've been dealing with that I'm not going to go into too much details here. But I always love doing this because this allows me to focus on something that I love and really enjoy. And we have a lot of content to talk about with you guys. Rams, Seahawks, 2025 NFC Championship, late January. And also, I should mention, too, please stay safe out there. I know there's a massive winter storm that is taking place across a good majority of the country this weekend. Ice, snow, rain, wherever you are, please stay safe. Hopefully, you get a chance to go to the store, get your last minute essentials, get your groceries, get some salt. We try to get some salt in our neighborhood. We couldn't find any. Luckily, our neighbor downstairs had some salt. And hopefully, you charge up all your phones, all your computers, your flashlights, because you need all of it in the event that hopefully we don't have the worst case scenario, the power getting knocked out. So definitely want to use caution, stay safe, have the weather app in your town, in your community at your nearest disposal so in case you need to use it. And I promise everything will be all right. As we segue back into football, the housekeeping is taken care of. Let's get into the reference notes for this NFC Championship game between the LA Rams and the Seattle Seahawks. Welcome to the 2025 NFC Championship Game. Matthew Stafford and the Los Angeles Rams, the number 5 seed, visiting Sam Darnold and the Seattle Seahawks, number 1 seed, to determine which club will win the NFC and advance to Super Bowl 60 at Levi's Stadium in Santa Clara, California, 2 weeks from today on Sunday, February 8th. This is the third meeting between these teams this year, with each team winning once. Of course, the Seahawks won the Week 16 game via improbable comeback back in mid-December, winning 38-37 in overtime after being down by 16 points at one point, down 30-14. And then Seattle outscores the Rams 24-7 the rest of the way. We all saw the iconic ending to this game. Eric Saubert, the tight end, catching a 2-point conversion from Sam Darnold. Moving field went to a proverbial frenzy, and it's now hard to see why, considering your team just won in thrilling fashion. And the Seattle Seahawks are feeling great, obviously. And now here we are 5 weeks later, Rams, Seahawks, the same two teams, same stadium. And the stakes are even higher than that game, right? Because back then, the NFC West was up for grabs. We all know, of course, Seattle eventually won the division with a 14-3 record. The Rams stumbled a bit, dropping 2 of their final 3 games. They finished 12-5. That's the reason why the Rams have been on the road for the past 2 weeks. Winnings in Carolina and Chicago. And, of course, we'll dive into the Rams' postseason journey in more detail in just a moment. But the Seattle Seahawks, obviously, one of your signature wins of the year. And if Seattle is able to hold serve again, they'll go to the Super Bowl for the 4th time in franchise history and for the first time since Super Bowl 49 back in 2014. All right, give me a second here. I am looking at my computer, which is off screen so you can't see it. Yep. The Rams, on the other hand, are trying to go to the Super Bowl for the 6th time in franchise history and trying to go for the first time since they won it all back in Super Bowl 56, and they beat the Bengals by a final score of 23-20. The Los Angeles Rams, of course, their first Super Bowl appearance was back in Super Bowl 14, a 31-19 loss to the Steelers. Then Super Bowl 34, the St. Louis Rams, that they were known back then, the greatest show on turf. Of course, Kurt Warner, the MVP of the NFL that year, after taking over for Trent Green in preseason. Dick Vermeil, the head coach. You had Isaac Bruce. You had Torrey Holt. You had some really remarkable playmakers on that team. The Rams defeated the Titans 23-16. Of course, Mike Jones making the tackle on Kevin Dyson 1 yard short of the end zone. And then Super Bowl 36, St. Louis made the Super Bowl again, lost to New England. And then the LA Rams, after the Rams moved back to St. Louis, moved back to Los Angeles from St. Louis after the 2015 season, lost to the Patriots in Super Bowl 53. So the Rams are 2-3 in their 5 Super Bowls that they've appeared in. 3 of the 5 have been at the Los Angeles Rams. 2 of those appearances were the St. Louis Rams. The Seattle Seahawks are 1-2 in their 3 Super Bowls prior to a potential 4th Super Bowl trip. Lost to Pittsburgh in Super Bowl 40 back in 2005, and Detroit Seahawks did. And then, of course, that Super Bowl 48 win against the Denver Broncos. Remember that one very clearly because I was in 8th grade at the time. I was about to be moving on from Darby Township School to Academy Park High School in 2014. That was the Super Bowl that was played at MetLife Stadium up in East Rutherford, New Jersey. And we all know what happened, right? Seattle crushes Denver. I think the final score was 48-8 or something like that. Seattle, they pummeled Denver on this day. And then the snow came like 2 hours after the game was done. And you can see why northern cities do not get Super Bowls because you run the risk of running into inclement weather. You can see why the NFL plays it safe and awards Super Bowls to warm weather cities like Tampa and Miami, or stadiums that are in cities that are presumably warm weather like New Orleans and Los Angeles. So the criteria is basically pretty straightforward, right? The Super Bowl is either in a warm weather city, such as Miami and Tampa, as I mentioned before. Sorry if I'm repeating myself, or cities that have a dome stadium like New Orleans and Los Angeles. And the reason why is because the NFL wants the most ideal weather condition possible for the Super Bowl. Here's a quick recap on how both teams got into this NFC Championship game. Let's start with the Los Angeles Rams, the number 5 seed in this year's NFC playoffs. They come in with a record of 14-5, 12-5 during the regular season, 2-0 in the playoffs. The Rams went 12-5 during the 2025 regular season. Los Angeles went into the postseason as the number 5 seed, being a wild card team. In the wild card round, they narrowly defeated the Panthers by a final score of 34-31. That was the game, of course, that saw some rain impact the game a little. And then last week, the Rams went into a frigid and chilly Chicago and pulled out a 2017 OT win despite that miraculous touchdown that Caleb Williams threw in the fourth quarter to Cole Kmet on 4th down, a fadeaway jumper that somehow hit the mark. I watched that play a million times over the last several days. Pretty remarkable what Caleb Williams did, and Chicago almost did it again. The Cardiac Bears, unfortunately, though, Williams intercepted the Cam Curl in overtime, and then Harrison Meebus, we'll talk about Harrison more in just a bit, hit the game-winning field goal to put the Rams in the lead for good, and the Rams won the game, and that's the reason why the LA Rams are in this NFC Championship game here today. Let's talk about the Seattle Seahawks, the team that's hosting this NFC Championship game here tonight. Seattle, 15-3, 14-3 regular season, 1-0 in postseason. Seattle finished the 2025 season with a 14-3 record, which earned them a first-round bye. Last week, the Seahawks crushed the 49ers by a final score of 41-6 in the divisional playoffs, thanks to running back Kenneth Walker's free touchdown effort and a remarkable showing from the Seahawks defense. The Seahawks are seeking their 4th Super Bowl appearance in franchise history, and as I mentioned, the Seahawks are 1-2 in their 3 previous trips to the Super Bowl. Okay, let's get into the injury report, and I have good news to report as we are about to start this section. Both teams are relatively healthy entering this NFC Championship game. One of the things that concerns football fans during this time of the year is that the injury report will be super lengthy. A lot of players are going to be out, and teams are going to be facing a shorthanded deck. That is not the case, fortunately, for these two teams, the Rams and Seahawks. Yes, they're focused on the injury report, but when you look at the injury report, like I have in front of me now, there's only 2 players who are going to be out for this game. So both teams are very lucky that help is on their side. You will like to have your full complement of players, or close to it anyway, to give your team the best possible chance to advance in the playoffs and potentially play in a Super Bowl. Let's start with the Los Angeles Rams. Let's start with the players that have no injury status whatsoever. Let's start with Rams safety Quentin Lake, who's been dealing with the illness. We heard from Rams head coach Sean McVay saying Quentin Lake has been dealing with some illness that's kept him away from the team, but he's hopeful that Quentin will be suiting up for the Rams here tonight. Quentin Lake did not participate in Wednesday's practice, but as the week went on, though, Quentin got better, and Quentin did participate on Thursday and Friday, so that's good. So he is expected to be good to go. Huge part of that Rams secondary that is going to be going up against Jackson Smith and Jimmy, but more about that later in the show. Also, on the injury report, but have no injury status whatsoever. Rams cornerback Emmanuel Ford Jr., he's been dealing with a shoulder injury. He was limited in practice to start the week. And then to wrap up the week on Friday, Emmanuel was a full participant. So that's a good sign for him. No injury status. He's expected to be good to go. Rams outside linebacker Josiah Stewart has been dealing with a knee injury. Josiah was a full participant all week, so that knee did not keep him from being a full participant, and he has no injury status. One questionable player for the Rams is their linebacker Byron Young. Knee injury, did not participate in practice on Wednesday and Thursday. He was limited in Friday's practice. He is questionable for this game, so we'll see if he's able to make the starting bell. And then finally, Rams offensive lineman Rob Havenstein is inactive for this game. Ankle injury. He was a limited participant on Thursday and Friday, and unfortunately, he can't go. So the Los Angeles Rams will be without one of their offensive linemen for this NFC Championship game. As for Seattle, plenty of folks on the injury report, but most of them have no injury status, which is a pretty good indication as to if this person is going to play here tonight in the championship game. Let's start at the top, and let's start with Seahawks left tackle Charles Cross. Cross has been dealing with a foot injury. He did not participate to start the week. DMP did not practice Wednesday, Thursday. Full participant on Friday. No injury status for him. And they're going to need Charles Cross on the left side of the offensive line, especially in the fact that you're protecting the guy who I'm about to speak up next, Seahawks quarterback Sam Darnold. Remember last week when we talked here on this program, Sam Darnold was questionable heading to last week's game at San Francisco with the oblique injury. He played despite that, but Sam Darnold is doing a lot better, though. It seems like the oblique is starting to heal. Limited participant in practice Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday. He's expected to play today. Seahawks linebacker DeMarcus Lawrence got some rest, non-injury related. He was limited to start the week, and then DeMarcus was able to ramp it up Thursday, Friday, full participant both days. No injury status whatsoever. Seahawks linebacker Uchenna Alonso has been dealing with a hamstring injury, limited on Wednesday, full participant Thursday, Friday, and all signs to Alonso playing here tonight. Seahawks wide receiver Jackson Smith-Njigba, non-injury related, rest. You see a lot of players NIR rests on this injury report. Smith-Njigba, limited in practice on Wednesday, full participant Thursday, Friday, no injury status. JSN is ready to lace him up. Seahawk defensive end Leonard Williams, not injury related rest, just like Smith-Njigba. Williams was limited on Wednesday, full participant on Thursday and Friday, no injury status at all. Seahawks tight end Elijah Arroyo has been dealing with a knee injury. He was a full participant all week long. No injury status for him. Seahawks running back George Halani been dealing with a hamstring injury. He was a full participant all week. No injury status. He's expected to play. Seahawks linebacker Tyrese Knight has been dealing with a shoulder injury. He was a full participant during the practices this week on Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday. And finally, Seahawks wide receiver and former Rams wide receiver Cooper Kupp will be playing against his former team here today. Non-injury related rest. He was limited on Friday. No injury status. Expected to play for the Seahawks here tonight. The Seahawks have two players who are questionable. Seahawks tackle Josh Jones have been dealing with a knee/ankle injury. Did not participate Wednesday and Thursday. Full participant on Friday. Questionable for tonight's game. And Robbie Oots, the Seahawks fullback, has been dealing with a neck injury. He was limited in practice all week with that injury. Questionable for this game. Seahawks tackle Amari Knight has been dealing with a knee injury. He did not practice at all this week, and it's pretty much going to be assumed that he is out for this game, but he is listed as doubtful according to the Seahawks injury report. And then only one person's out for the Seahawks here tonight. Linebacker Cheraz Surratt has been dealing with an ankle injury. He was a full participant in practice. Sadly, despite that, though, he is out for this game. So that is a key linebacking piece that's going to be missing for Seattle tonight. All right, let's move on to the game capsule. An exciting battle here in the Pacific Northwest at the Los Angeles Rams play the Seattle Seahawks. Each team stands as 1 win away now from a trip to the Super Bowl in 2 weeks' time out in Santa Clara, California. Obviously, it should be no surprise to any of us that the two teams from the best division in football remain standing on Conference Championship Sunday. The final act of this Rams-Seahawks trilogy should be a movie, folks. And we have 14 keys that we'll be talking about throughout this section. So I'm trying to tee you up for what's about to come your way. The Rams have proven to people that they can win in any way they want. So far in the playoffs, the Rams have won 2 road games, a 34-31 win over the Panthers in the wild card game, followed by the 2017 win over the Bears in the divisional round last week. The Panthers game features some rain, and the Bears game had a biting cold and a noticeable win. The Rams split the 2-game series with Seattle during the regular season. The Rams beat the Seahawks 21-19 in Week 11. Then, the Rams dropped a 38-37 overtime decision to the Seahawks back in Week 16 after having a 16-point lead at one point in the fourth quarter. The Rams have the number 1 scoring offense in the NFL. So I expect the Rams to put up a ton of points here tonight. Actually, we have a fantastic matchup tonight. We got the number 1 scoring offense in the Rams. We got the number 1 scoring defense, that is being the Seattle Seahawks. Something has to give tonight, and we'll see which one of those units will ultimately win out and prevail when the final whistle goes off here in Lumen Field later this evening. As I mentioned earlier, the Rams beat the Seahawks 21-19 back in Week 11. The Seattle Seahawks, they are scorching hot right now. They've won 8 straight games. They've won 12 of the last 13. The Seahawks are playing some of their best football at the right time. And if you are a football team like Seattle, this is the time for you to start peaking. Because if you want to make a Super Bowl, you got to play well in December and January, and the Seahawks have been able to do that. And we anticipate that the Seahawks will put up a really good performance once again. They're playing in front of some of the best fans in the NFL. The 12s are very passionate here in Lumen Field, and we anticipate the 12s will be showing out in full support to support their team tonight. And another thing about the Seahawks that stands out, they've only allowed 21 or more points just once over their last 7 games. So typically the Seahawks do not allow you to score too much. We'll see if the Rams are able to adjust to that. In Week 16, that overtime classic that we spoke of near the start of this broadcast, the Seahawks beat the Rams 38-37. We have 14 keys this week, so that number is a lot smaller than the key amount that we normally have. But I do like the fact that for the 14 key, they're evenly split with 7 between Seattle and the Rams. Let's get to it. Key number 1. Seahawks quarterback Sam Darnold, Week 16 versus Rams. 270 yards, 2 touchdowns, 2 interceptions, and a quarterback rating of 84.2. The Seahawks need Sam Darnold to step up and deliver a good performance if the Seahawks want to go to their 4th Super Bowl in franchise history. In Week 16 against the Rams, Darnold tossed 2 interceptions early on, but did bounce back though and come up clutch with 2 touchdown passes in the second half of this game that Seattle would go on to win in overtime. Sam Darnold threw for 270 and 279 yards versus the Rams in the 2 regular season meetings this year. Sam Darnold did play last week while maintaining an oblique injury, as I mentioned earlier in the show. This is key one for Seattle to win this ball game. You need Sam Darnold to throw at least 2 to 3 touchdown passes, so that's something to keep in mind. And one more note on the Rams before we continue. The Rams defense did not allow a single touchdown pass by Darnold during the Week 11 win by the Rams over Seattle. And Sam Darnold played poorly in the Week 11 game at SoFi Stadium. He threw 4 picks, and his quarterback rating was 45.5, which is absolutely atrocious, by the way. Let's flip it back to the Seahawks side. Seahawks quarterback Sam Darnold in the divisional round against San Francisco last week, 124 yards, a touchdown. He didn't throw a pick, which is obviously good, and he finished with a solid quarterback rating of 110.9, only 17 pass attempts, completed 12 passes for at least 7 yards or more, and in 2025, 25 touchdowns. 14 interceptions and a 91.1 quarterback rating for Sam Darnold. Key number 2, Seahawks wide receiver Jackson Smith in Jimba, divisional versus the 49ers. 4 targets, 3 receptions, 19 yards, and a touchdown. Remember, Sam Darnold only had 1 touchdown pass last week that went to Jackson Smith in Jimba. He was very quiet last week, but this leads us in Seattle key number 2 to victory. What type of day is Jackson Smith and Jimba going to have? And if you look at the 2 prior games against Los Angeles, Jackson Smith and Jimba played fairly well in those games. In the Week 16 game against LA, 13 targets, 8 receptions, 96 yards, and a touchdown. And way back in Week 11, 12 targets, 9 receptions, 105 yards. So if you combine the numbers, that's 25 targets, 17 receptions, 201 yards, and a touchdown. That's pretty good for Smith and Jimba or any wide receiver in the NFL, to be quite honest with you. And then, of course, you got the Cooper Kupp factor facing his former team, a team, of course, that Cooper Kupp started his career with, won a Super Bowl with them 4 years ago, of course, caught the game-winning touchdown from Matt Stafford in the final moments of that game. And for Cooper Kupp, I bet it will be a little emotional facing your former team, but Cooper Kupp is focused on helping his team get to the Super Bowl. Kupp last week against San Francisco in the divisional round, 5 targets, 5 receptions, 60 yards, a revenge game for obvious reasons, as I mentioned. This season, Cooper Kupp had 47 receptions, 593 yards, and 2 touchdowns. Seahawks tight end A.J. Barner, Week 16 versus Rams, 6 targets, 4 receptions, 49 yards, and a touchdown contributed during Seattle's overtime win over Los Angeles. Key number 3, and this will be leading us into key number 1 for a Rams victory here tonight. Rams pass defense divisional versus Bears quarterback Caleb Williams. 257 yards, 2 touchdowns, 3 interceptions. Rams key number 1 to victory here tonight. The Rams secondary must key in and break up the Sam Darnold / Jackson Smith in Jimba connection in order to have success in this game. The Rams picked off Sam Darnold 6 times during the 2 regular season games, or 3 interceptions per game on average. When the Rams dropped their Week 16 game against Seattle, both Smith and Jimba and Darnold had great second halves. Last week, of course, the Rams and the Bears Cinderella story through the NFL playoffs. Rams rush defense divisional round at Bears. The Rams had the assignment of facing two really good runners for Chicago last week. Bears running back DeAndre Swift, 76 yards, 4 yards per carry last week. Kyle Monangai, 36 yards, 2.8 yards per tote. All right, let's get to key number 4 and Seattle's third key to victory here tonight. Seahawks running back Kenneth Walker III out of Michigan State, Week 16 versus Rams. 11 attempts, 100 yards, 9.1 yards per carry, touchdown. He had 67 yards, 4.2 yards per carry, and a touchdown in the Week 11 loss to the Rams. Pardon me. Excuse me. We apologize for that. Walker was the main star last week against San Francisco. Remember, Kenneth Walker had 3 touchdowns, and you're going to need Kenneth Walker to step up because Zach Charbonnet, who was RB2, who was Kenneth Walker's complement, unfortunately suffered a serious knee injury that requires surgery. He's out for the rest of the playoffs, so that's a big loss for Seattle. Kenneth Walker could have a lot more on his plate now with Charbonnet out of there. But Kenneth Walker had a 3 touchdowns last week. He had an excellent game. And that leads us to Seattle's third key to victory tonight. They must use their rushing attack to keep the LA defense honest throughout the football game. And then you see what Kenneth Walker did last week. 19 attempts, 116 yards, 6.1 yards per carry, 3 touchdowns. Kenneth Walker lit it up last week, and it was nice to see Kenneth Walker doing his thing, getting a nice applause from the Lumen Field crowd here. And I expect Kenneth Walker to have a big game here as well. They're going to need someone to step up with Charbonnet out, and Kenneth Walker, he can carry a load and stuff like that. So we'll see what he's able to do. All right, I'm going to have to backtrack a little bit. And here's key number 5, and this is the second key to a Rams victory tonight. Rams running back Kyren Williams out of Notre Dame, Week 11 versus Seahawks. The game that the Rams won, 12 attempts, 91 yards, 7.6 yards per carry, touchdown. Williams had 3.5 yards per carry in the Week 11 loss to the Seahawks. Rams key number 2. Can the Rams rushing attack crack the code against this tremendous Seahawks defensive outfit? Kyren Williams divisional round at Bears, 21 attempts, 87 yards, 4.1 yards per carry, and 2 touchdowns. And of course, Williams had the running mate in the backfield and Blake Corum. Blake Corum only 19 yards for Corum, the former Michigan man, against Chicago in the divisional round last week. The Rams do have a 1-2 punch with Williams and Corum. Unfortunately, Seahawks don't. The Rams do. So if you are a fan looking to see which team has the edge in the running back position based on how many bodies are available, you will say advantage Los Angeles. But Kyren Williams, Kenneth Walker, Blake Corum, we have a really good group of running backs to keep an eye on as we cover and watch this NFC Championship game here tonight. Key number 6. This is a key for Seattle's defense. Let's take a look at the rush defense. Divisional round against the great San Francisco 49ers running back and a guy that really does it all, Christian McCaffrey. Christian last week was limited to 35 yards at 3.2 yards per carry for Christian McCaffrey, one of the best running backs in the NFL. And Christian was very limited last week. And this brings us to Seattle's fourth key to victory tonight. Make the Rams offense one-dimensional. Force them to either become a running-only team or passing-only team. In other words, you don't want the Rams to have a balanced attack with the run and pass game. If you're Seattle, you need to take the run away and force the Rams to beat you over the top, or take the pass away and make the Rams batter it into the ground to beat you that way. So if you're Seattle, you got to make them one-dimensional, and you have to pretty much take 50% of the Rams' offense away. Okay, key number 7. Rams quarterback Matthew Stafford, Week 16 at Seahawks. It's the game that the Rams lost, of course. 457 yards, 3 touchdowns, 110.7 quarterback rating. Just 130 yards for Stafford in the Week 11 win. Puka Nacua had only 75 yards during the Week 11 Los Angeles win. And this is the Rams' third key to victory. Stafford, Puka, Adams, Shine. It's essential to get Matthew Stafford, Puka Nacua, and Davante Adams all clicking at once. And the Rams want to go to the Super Bowl and have a chance to win it. They all three to be locked in on the same page. Rams quarterback Matthew Stafford, divisional round at Bears, 20 for 42, 258 yards, 6.1 yards per attempt, quarterback rating of 67.4. And of course, Matthew Stafford led the league this year with 46 touchdown passes. And of course, Matthew Stafford is a finalist for the NFL MVP to the prize of absolutely no one. And we should mention that the winner of the MVP in the NFL will be announced at NFL Honors, which will be on Thursday, February 5th on NBC and the NFL Network during Super Bowl week. John Hamm will be hosting that show. I'm definitely looking forward to that. Rams wide receiver Davante Adams. This is his 5th NFC Championship game. Davante Adams was asked this during his media availability this week, and Davante Adams was like, look, I've been in the conference championship game a lot. I'm trying to get over that hump and get to a Super Bowl. So Davante Adams is going to have something special planned in this game here tonight. Davante Adams was pretty pedestrian in Chicago last week, all things considered, with just 24 yards in the game. Davante, of course, is playing here in Lumen Field. He was, of course, scheduled to play here back in Week 16, but in the game against Detroit in Week 15, the game that we covered on this show, as we mentioned earlier, he re-injured his hamstring against Detroit. He went down in the fourth quarter, had the lead, did not come back, and Davante Adams was then later shut down for the final few games of the regular season. Davante did come back, but he started a playoff run against Carolina a couple weeks ago, and Davante has played ever since. But because of Davante being out in Week 16, Puka Nacua went off, and Puka had an outburst for the ages. Think about this. Puka Nacua caught 12 balls, I should say, 16 targets in the Week 16 overtime heartbreaking loss in Seattle. Puka had 225 yards, y'all, in that Week 16 game. At the Seahawks, 2 touchdowns, outstanding performance from one of the best young wideouts in the NFL. Nacua last week in the divisional round against Chicago, 10 targets, 5 receptions for 56 yards. And Nacua is averaging over 100 yards per game, 107.2 to be exact, which leads the NFL. Key number 8, Seahawks pass defense divisional versus 49ers quarterback Brock Purdy. Last week, 15 to 27, 140 yards, interception, quarterback rate of 54.6. This leads us to Seattle's 5th key to victory tonight. Contained LA's big three of Stafford, Puka, and Adams. The Seahawks had the necessary talent to counter what LA's big three has to throw at them. Seahawks safety Kobe Bryant returned last week from his injury. 2 targets, no catches allowed. 1 pass defended. Seahawks rookie safety Nick Emawari knocked the ball away against the 49ers, I should say. I do apologize. I put the wrong team name in. Emawari meant to pass away against San Francisco, not the Bears. Sorry about that, folks. It's been a rough last several weeks, several months, making mistakes in my Google Sheets or whatever. All right, give me a minute. Let me fix that. Yeah, this is the easy fix. All right, there we go. Very easy fix. Get that computer away so you can see my pretty little face. Yep. All right. So Nick Emawari knocked the ball away against San Francisco last week. Quarterback Week Woolen knocked down a few passes versus San Francisco. Seahawks cornerback Josh Jobe, no receptions allowed last week against San Francisco. And Seahawks quarterback Devin Witherspoon had 7 targets last week versus the Bears, only 29 yards allowed. Seahawks pass defense, divisional versus 49ers. 7 pass deflections held all San Francisco wide receivers under 25 yards, and the Seahawks pass defense against wide receivers is really good. 69.5 rate, which is the lowest in the league this season. Seahawks divisional defense against the San Francisco 49ers, 6 points, 0 red zone trips, 2 fumble recoveries. San Francisco did turn the ball over a lot, and the Seahawks defense, as I mentioned before, they allowed the fewest points in the NFL, 17.2 points per game. That's it. That is all. They did not give up a lot of points. So if you're the Rams, scoring points is going to be hard. Normally the Rams don't have issues scoring points. Seattle, good luck to you. All right, let's flip it back to the Rams here for key number 9. And this will give the Rams the 4th key to victory. Rams tight end Kobe Parkinson slapped Tyler Higbee, divisional round out Bears. 9 targets, 4 receptions, 83 yards. Stafford uses tight ends on a regular basis, and the Rams' 4th key to victory is using the tight ends. Stafford uses tight ends a lot, so I expect Parkinson and Higbee to get a lot of action in this game. Key number 10, and this will give the 5th Ram key to victory. Rams offense divisional round at Bears, 4 sacks taken, 42 pass attempts. The Rams offensive line has allowed the fewest sacks in the league, and they must give Matthew Stafford time to find the pass catchers. There's a lot of people that Matthew Stafford can put the ball into the hands of throughout a 60-minute, 4-quarter football game. Seahawks pass defense divisional versus... Oh, man, I made quite a few mistakes here. Oops. I'm probably going to make a new copy of these game notes as soon as we're done this video. But Seahawks pass defense divisional versus 49ers tight end Jay Tonjes filling in for the injured George Kittle, who suffered an Achilles injury 2 weeks ago in Philadelphia when the 49ers, not the defending Super Bowl champ Philadelphia Eagles, out the playoffs at the time. Just 59 yards. Seahawks versus tight ends, 102.2 rate, 18th in the NFL, 6 touchdowns and 2 interceptions. The Seahawks did not get Matthew Stafford on the ground in either of the regular season games. That's kind of weird. They need to get Matthew Stafford on the ground to have any sort of legitimate chance to win. This will lead us into key number 11, Seattle's pass rush divisional versus the 49ers. 2 sacks, 31 pass attempts, 5 quarterback hits. Seahawks defensive end Leonard Williams had a sack and 2 quarterback hits versus the 49ers last week. This is the Seahawks' 6th key to victory. Pressure and sack Matthew Stafford. Seahawks divisional round versus the 49ers. 2 sacks taken, 17 pass attempts. Injury watch. Charles Cross, the left tackle of the Seahawks, had to leave last week's game against San Francisco with a foot injury. But as we told you before, Charles Cross is expected to play this week despite that injury. So that is good to see that Charles Cross was able to rest up, heal up, and he'll be ready to lace him up and protect Sam Darnold's left side in this game tonight. Seahawks divisional round versus 49ers, 34 points, 4 of 10 on 3rd down, 4 of 6 in the red zone. And Seattle scores points at a pretty good clip, 28.4 points per game, which is 3rd in the NFL. That's pretty good. Right there. All right, key number 12 and the 6th key to victory for the Los Angeles Rams. The Rams pass rush, week 16 at Seahawks, 4 sacks, 34 pass attempts, And there's several key players to watch for the Rams. Jared Verse, Byron Young, Braden Fix, Colby Turner, and others. And the sixth key for the Rams to an NFC Championship win here on the road: pressure and sack Sam Darnold. Keep in mind, the Rams' pass defense could not record a sack against Bears quarterback Caleb Williams in the divisional game last week. The Rams did not sack Darnold once in the Week 11 game at SoFi Stadium in Inglewood, California. Rams defense divisional round at Bears, 17 points, 9 of 19 on third down, and 3 turnovers. Rams defense is giving up an average of 20.4 points a game, which is 10th in the NFL. And finally, the final key for each one of these teams is the special teams. Let's start with Seattle. Key number 13, 7th key for Seattle win is the special teams. Jason Meyer, Seahawks kicker. Divisional round against San Francisco, who's great. Hit both of his field goals, hit all 5 of the extra points. This season, Myers went 41 for 48 on field goals, hitting at an 85.4% clip, which is pretty solid. And he hit all of his extra points, went 48 for 48 on those. And then, of course, how about the electrifying start to last week's game where he took the opening kickoff and returned it 95 yards for a touchdown. It gave Lumen Field a little bit of a jolt, and it's a pretty good omen how the rest of the game is going to go. Shaheed, a 95-yard touchdown kick return to start the game, and Shaheed had a 30-yard rush during the game as well. Remember, Rashid Shaheed was the midseason acquisition from New Orleans, and man, what a fine fit he is. John Snyder, the GM, pulling off that trade of the Seahawks for bringing him in here. A-plus move from John Snyder, making the Seahawks team better, addressing a need and going after the player that he wanted and bringing Shaheed here. And he's been quite good. He's been really enjoying himself during his Seahawks tenure so far. Seahawks 7-2 versus team 500 or better, 7-2 at home. And the final key in the 7th, Rams key to win, and the key number 14 overall. Rams kicker Harrison Meba. Remember Joshua Carty with the kicker to start the season. Joshua Carty lost his job. Meba stepped in, and Harrison Meba was money last week in Chicago, despite the cold, frosty, frigid, and dangerous, nearly dangerous, debilitating, incapacitable conditions. Mebus hit 2 field goals, including the game winner in overtime, and the key number 7 for the Los Angeles Rams, the key to victory here in the NFC Championship. Mebus stays hot. The Rams are 6-3 versus team 500 or above, and they're 6-4 on the road. All right, y'all. Hopefully, we have done a good enough job of getting you ready for this NFC Championship duel, the Los Angeles Rams and the Seattle Seahawks. The winner goes to Super Bowl 60. They'll face either the New England Patriots or the Denver Broncos. The AFC Championship game also happens to be today as well. And the loser goes home 1 game short of football's biggest stage. I would like to remind you one more time, make sure you like, comment, subscribe, share, and hit the notification bell so you'll be notified of all of our newest content. As a side note, I mentioned this in one of our previous videos. We will still have our channel update coming out. I do apologize for it being delayed several times, doing a lot of personal stuff, so I've not been able to get it out. Once this series ends for the season, I will likely be focusing on that channel update vid if it doesn't come out before then. I will keep you notified certainly of when that video comes out. I have a lot of things I want to say in that video that I will not share here. So I'm just going to keep you in suspense for a little bit until that video comes out. No video next week for what you need to know because it's off week in the NFL. We'll be back with you 2 weeks from now for our final episode of Season 1. We are going to be previewing the Super Bowl 60, the winner in this game versus the New England Denver winner. We will, of course, get you set up. We have a couple weeks to get prepared for that. And then that will be a wrap for Season 1. Again, it means a lot to me that you guys have been here every step of the way. We are still growing. We're still learning. We are 18 episodes in. And when we started in September, I was a little nervous that what the show going to take off or not. And I've been looking at my YouTube statistics and stuff like that. You guys really enjoy what we have done, the community that we have built. And I am very, very happy to start this show and get this far into it. And we have one more episode, and then we'll put season 1 to rest. And hopefully, by the grace of God, we'll be back for season 2 next year. So, until our final episode of season 1 in a couple of weeks, this is Tamir Moore saying good night. Thank you so much for joining us here on this YouTube episode. Enjoy Rams versus Seahawks. Enjoy the Patriots Broncos NFC Championship game. And we will see you guys real soon. Take care, everybody. What's up, guys? It's Tamir Moore. I appreciate you for watching today's video. And I look forward to seeing you next time for another YouTube video. In the meanwhile, don't forget to like and subscribe. And also check out my social media profiles and my YouTube profile, which I provided in this outro screen. So long, everybody, and have a great day.